Welcome to what the? Why are you getting a warning?
Hold on. Sorry.
There's something in the air.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to There's Something in the Air, a spoiler filled Winona Earp podcast. This week, Michelle, BP, and I are going to talk about all things related to conventions, especially something that we're all very familiar with, anxiety, and what kinds of anxiety a con can bring. I thought we could start by talking about what makes us qualified to discuss this, like what our specific con experiences were. All of the cons that I've attended, except for like Steel City Con in Pittsburgh, which I don't count because I don't just if you've ever been to Steel City Con in Pittsburgh, you'd know why. I have been to Fan Expo and Klexicon and Dragon Con, all of which I went to for Winona Earp.
My first con experience was Dragon Con, which I don't think was a good way to start. Which it was a lot of fun, but 82,000 of my closest friends was not really the best way for me to spend 4 days for my mental health. And then just recently in January, I went to Unity Days specifically for the Hundy, but I was super sick the whole time. So I have a great experience with cons so far.
Oh boy, you're gonna have to help me out. In 2016, was it? My first con was Fan Expo in Toronto, where I met Monica, and then I went to New York Comic Con, and then I think Klexicon, and then I went to C2E2 in Chicago, and then I went to New York Comic Con again. And Dragon Con, I think. Were there more?
No, I think that was it.
Yeah, I think they were just out of order, but that was all of them.
I don't really remember the order that they happened in, but I do know that Fan Expo was first. And I do know that New York Comic Con was a lot of anxiety both times.
Which one was worse?
Fan Expo or New York Comic Con?
Of the two New York Comic Cons that you went to, which was worse?
I would probably say the first one, just because I feel like this episode is just going to be me talking about my random ass con experiences. The first one is I really wanted to go to New York Comic Con, and I am really bad at planning trips, as you guys know. So I booked like a last minute Airbnb at some random dude's apartment where I slept on an air mattress in his living room, but it was 2 blocks away from the convention, and it was super cheap.
Fun story. That is the first time that Michelle and I actually like talked. Because my wife and I had booked a lot of Airbnbs, and so she was like sending them to us and asking our opinions.
I forgot about that.
For anyone concerned for the future, I have already booked Michelle and I's room for Palooza in October because I do not suck at planning, and Lord knows I don't even know how that kid would just show up and not have anywhere to stay.
You booked our rooms for a convention I haven't even bought tickets for.
Yeah, well, I haven't done that either. That's different.
I'm really good at being homeless is the only thing I can say to that. But that was probably more stressful because the rooming situation was anxiety filled. So that was kind of like a my safety is anxious type situation. For the Fan Expo, I drove all the way to Toronto from Iowa and stayed in a hotel room by myself. So it wasn't so much that. It was more the fact that I was going to a convention without having ever met any fandom people. And I went there on a whim because I just didn't like life for a bit, and I was like, I'm just gonna drive to Canada, it'll be fine. And the only person that I knew / planned to meet was Heidi.
Oh, you just reminded me I need to renew my passport. Thank you.
Listeners, if your passport is expiring soon, please remember to renew it. I believe you can't enter other countries if it's 6 months from being expired. So just check your expiry dates on that. And if it's a year or less, you probably want to look into that. Super easy. If it is expired, you have 5 years after that, so you can just send in a renewal. So just an FYI on your passport situation for any of you wondering.
A fun fact about my passport, I did not have one until like 2014 when my company decided they wanted to send me to Canada with like no notice, and they're like, oh, you have your passport, and I'm like, why the fuck would I have a passport? I don't go anywhere. So they paid like all the money to get it like super expedited, and then it got there too late for me to actually go on the trip.
You live in Iowa. You don't need a passport?
To go to Canada?
No, to go to Iowa, to leave there.
I mean, you need like a license. I leave the state every single day of my life. You just need a driver's license. You have to flash it on your way across the bridge.
To whom exactly?
You know those militant Iowa state cops?
Yeah.
Riley Finn, you mean?
Yeah, that guy. He's a real asshole.
He really is an asshole. Oh, he's so boring too. That's my biggest part with him. Biggest issue with him is how boring he is.
Buffy slays 21 today, y'all.
It's very exciting. I did one of the high points of my day was I did a giant GIF thread for that. So that was super fun because I was looking for one in particular and I was like, all of these are great. I should do a GIF thread.
Wait, I missed something. What's happening?
Today's the 21st anniversary of Buffy.
Wasn't it just the 20th anniversary? Did an entire year go by?
Yes, that was last year.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
That seemed like it was a lot more recent. Sorry, guys, I'm losing time. I'm just going to leave. You guys can handle this.
So I think, BP, when you said that Dragon Con was, I feel like compared to all of the other con experiences that I've had, that one is completely different.
Yeah.
It's just so big. Even if you just do, like we just did, for the most part, like one little thing. But it was so big and so intimidating. Like that's just a completely different thing. I had a lot of anxiety that went along with that, but I don't think I will necessarily have that same problem just because there aren't going to be 82,000 people at ClexaCon, for example, or any of the other cons that we're planning on going to this year.
I think the biggest issue with Dragon Con is not the number of attendance, because I did Dragon Con and I've done New York Comic Con, and I feel like they're similar, they're probably similar in size. I think the issue is that Dragon Con takes place in like 5 or 6 different hotels. So you have to travel blocks upon blocks to get where you're going. And just the travel time creates anxiety. Because I know that every convention I've gone to, when you're looking at a schedule and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to this panel, and then I have 15 minutes to get to this panel. And like, hopefully there isn't a huge line. At Dragon Con, it was like, I have 15 minutes to get here, but I have to travel 1.5 miles to get to the other building.
And if you're me, you don't know where the other building is.
Exactly. Or also which ones are named which.
And you need to have a sense of direction / a GPS system that has the resolution to pick you up on like downtown Atlanta.
Pinpoint, heck yeah. And you also need to prepare to enter the 7th circle of hell, which is the Marriott Marquis.
I thought we were never going to mention that again.
So stricken from the record.
Just delete that. It's fine. I remember when I was planning to go to Fan Expo, I was super nervous, and it was like right after the first season of Wynonna had aired. And I remember saying to my wife, I was like, I really want to go. I said, I really think that after this hits Netflix, it's really going to blow up. And I don't think that it's going to be, I'm going to have this experience to see it like in a small scale like this again. And she is very kind and agreed to go. But I had so many questions and I didn't know anybody. I talked to, a little bit beforehand, I talked to Visit Purgatory and Nedley's office, and that was it. And I mostly started talking to Visit Purgatory because she grew up in Pittsburgh and she was flying to Pittsburgh and driving from there. So I really, I didn't know anybody either. I had Chris, which was wonderful, but she doesn't watch the show and doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. So I had a lot of questions. I had no idea what to expect. When we put out the request for like comments or questions or anything like that, we got this email from Julie, who is at Btown Julie on Twitter. And I kind of thought that, like, I had all of these questions when I went into it as well. Fan Expo was much different. Like, they didn't have like a separate, like you couldn't like buy autographs. You won through a lottery the chance to go and have them autograph your stuff and to meet them. But then they also came to the meetup afterwards. But so especially for ClexaCon, I didn't know what to expect. I think I asked Heidi a lot of questions because she was, like the expert. But anyway.
I just want to point out that the Fan Expo experience with the whole lottery bullshit, that's not a regular con experience, that was just a dumpster fire.
It was a dumpster fire from start to finish.
It's not usual. Don't expect that to be the norm. I promise you it won't be like that.
So anyway, Julie says, hi there. Love the podcast. I technically could have left that part out, but I didn't want to. This is one of my questions for your ClexaCon podcast. ClexaCon will be my first con, so I would be interested to hear about what items y'all bring with you to keep things organized and running smoothly. For instance, do I need to bring something with me to put my autograph pictures in so they don't get wrinkled? If so, what do you recommend? Any tips and tricks would be appreciated. Thanks. I think so at ClexaCon last year, I bought like the plastic 8x10 sleeve to put the pictures in, and I'm just going to bring mine back. I was very happy that I bought it and it worked really well. I took it to DragonCon. I don't even know where it is, so I have like a month to find that. And we have a lot of other emails, some of them very lengthy, that'll address a lot of tips and stuff. We're gonna have to take turns reading Heidi's, man. Because
I was gonna say, well, our friend Heidi has this method, but I'm pretty sure that she has that in her email that I didn't read.
Yes, I'm sure that she does.
I can say personally the way that I protect my pictures and whatnot is I go to Walgreens and I buy a shitty composition notebook and I just shove them in there.
Also poster tubes, depending on how big it is.
But if it's like an actual, I bring a poster tube and I bring composition notebook. So depending on the size, I either just shove it in the poster tube or a composition notebook. I don't remember which con it was, but Monica, was it DragonCon where my poster tube was so full that I couldn't actually put more things in it?
I think, and then I had to ship them to you.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. So maybe bring 2 poster tubes if you're going to spend a ridiculous amount of money on shit that you don't have enough wall space for.
I bought a poster tube on Amazon, and it is much larger than I intended. I'm not sure I'm going to bring it or not. I might like go to Staples or something and get a small one, but it is very big. But if I ever want to do yoga and somewhere and ride my bike to it, I'll definitely be all set to put my yoga mat in there. Like, it is giant.
We should talk after recording. I might want to buy that tube off of you, considering how much shit I buy and don't put up on my walls.
Okay, we can talk.
And all of that goes in the backpack.
Yes.
Yes.
Your con backpack is very important.
You need a good, solid backpack that you are comfortable with and trust in.
If you're just buying one, like if you're buying one new, I would recommend looking for one that has like a mesh thing on the outside for your water bottle. That's the only thing that mine doesn't have that I wish that it did.
I never thought of that. That would be a really good thing to have.
But I have so many memories and so much time into my backpack now, because I put a lot of patches on it, and I'm not a seamstress by any stretch of the imagination, as was pointed out to me by Chris's aunt, who is a seamstress. She's like, these aren't very good. Your corners are up. I was like, you know what, Judy? You just calm down. I should have used a glue gun.
Jesus, Judy, calm down.
I like how you accessorized your bag.
I did. I was very proud of it, and I still have so many patches to put on because I can't decide where to put them. But right before ClexaCon, I do not know what came over me and why I did this. And I'm a little embarrassed, but I never took it off. I had a patch made with my Twitter handle. Because at ClexaCon, they didn't have bad name tags or anything. So I had that made and I put it on my bag, and it's still there. And at DragonCon, someone behind us recognized me from the back, recognized my Twitter name on the bag. I was like, hi, are you Monica? And I was like, yes, you just came up from me from behind. What's that about? So that was pretty funny. Whoa.
I mean, you might not remember when you put that patch on your backpack, but I sure as shit do.
What does that mean?
I mean, you had a lot of anxiety about it, and I told you just go for it. And clearly it paid off because you made friends.
I guess. I did. That was fun.
It was a good decision.
It's kind of obnoxious, though.
I mean, a little bit, but it's fine. My backpack is, I don't sew anything onto it because it's like the most ridiculous story. I saw it online and I really wanted it really, really badly because I thought it looked cool. And then I told my mom about it. So she got it for me for Christmas. And I feel weird if I permanently stuck anything on it because I use it for work and for cons and for randomly going to the gym. I use it for everything. so I can't like permanently taint it. So if you see me at a con, there'll be like 4,000 pins on it of various fandom things, but not a single thing that's permanent.
Now I know why you never put that patch on it that I gave you.
That's exactly why it's in the bag with all of my pins.
Of course.
That's totally the reason. Yep.
I don't think that
I guess. I mean, you could have just told me no.
I love the patch. I just don't think that I could walk into work every single day with that thing on and not have somebody say something to me.
That's fair.
You might want to explain what the patch is now that we've talked about it.
It says, nevertheless, she persisted.
And it's awesome.
I got it for you right before, like for Klexicon, I think.
Yeah, it was.
So last March.
I really wanted to sew it onto my bag, but then I was panicking about how to unsew it off of my bag afterwards.
You just cut the... Oh my god. Okay. Anyway.
Monica's not judging me. Let's continue.
Monica's always judging you. Don't worry. So we did ask for, like I said, we asked for advice for cons, so we're going to go through some of that, I think. First up on the list is Valerie Ann, who is at Punky Starshine on Twitter. Hi, I thought I'd offer some advice for cons if you still need some. There are, of course, physical ways to prep, have snacks on your person, stay hydrated, etc. But my number one suggestion for emotional prep is to be honest. Be honest with yourself and be honest with other people. If you start feeling overwhelmed or anxious about something, don't try to fight or ignore it. Admit it to yourself first, then tell a buddy. Be honest about what you need, whether it's, hey, I'm stressed about this thing. Can we talk about Waverly's crop tops to distract me, or I need to go outside alone for a bit. Will you text me if plans change? In my experience, fangirls get it and are more than willing to give you what you need, whether it's company at the sinks, in the bathroom, or a person to text so you can rejoin the group after some alone time. And I think this is very true. In my experience, I had like the first panic attack I think I'd ever had, which was super fun at Dragon Con. There were so many people, and I felt really bad because on my way out the door, Shanti was like, "Hey, Monica," because we met briefly and wanted to talk, and I was like, "I have to go because I think I'm gonna throw up or pass out or maybe die."
That shouldn't be funny.
Yeah, thanks, man. And we never got a chance to really talk again, which sucked.
I think this is really great advice. Some conventions that you go to, for me, I actively sought out at New York Comic Con. Some cons have a silent room where you can go in and nobody fucking says anything to anybody. It's completely quiet except for like rappers or if people are eating lunch or whatever. It's completely quiet, chill. Nobody has any expectations. And when I went to New York Comic Con, I knew people, I knew Valerie and I knew Nick and I knew a bunch of other people, but it was relatively fresh. I didn't know them that well. So I had to go a few times and just be like, I'm just going to sit by myself, look at my phone and not deal with people. And so if a con has that and you need it, I would highly recommend you take advantage of it because it's a room full of people who understand you on that level. And then also it's just a really nice break for you to catch your breath.
They did not have one of those at Klexicon last year, correct?
No, they did not.
That would be great.
I feel like we should probably recommend that.
Yeah.
I feel like the new venue might have more space based off of what I'm seeing, so there might be more of a chance for that. But the nice thing about Klexicon, at least last year, was that it's a smaller convention, or it was, I don't know. So you could walk out of the main hall and the hallway was completely empty, so you could just go and sit out there and take a breather. Basically, if you need space, just go find yourself some space. Don't feel pressured to be around people. And
if you're surrounded by the right people, which, I feel like all of us have kind of found our people by this point. And I think we'll find even more with every con that we go to. That's important. And that, that's very helpful. And, I know I can be like, hey, so I need to leave because I'm going to kill all of you. And you'll be like, okay, that's cool. We'll text you if we do something different.
The other thing is, if this is your first con, don't be worried about it being your first con. A lot of we've all had first con experiences. So if you don't quote unquote have your people, that fucking line, you'll maybe
someday you'll find them.
You literally just took what I was gonna say away from me.
She's
Sorry.
really good at that.
I'm not sorry at all.
So if maybe someday you find your people at a convention, like you will find your people at the convention. Like it'll happen. I promise you. If not, come hit me in the face for being wrong. I don't know.
Yes,
but you'll find your people. Monica's going to be holding a sign that says "Punch this person."
I would pay to see that.
No, I'm gonna be like, Michelle, I haven't found my people, and then I'm gonna punch you, and it's gonna be amazing, and you're gonna be like, what the fuck?
I feel like at this point I qualify as your people, so you can't punch me. For that reason, you can punch me for a bunch of others.
Do you think that? That's interesting.
Anyways, you will find people that you relate to, and like don't feel like pressured to not say what you're feeling. So if you're stressed out, just be like, "Hey, I'm stressed. I'm gonna go like take a break." That's fine, unless you're with Monica, because apparently she's just Monica.
What does that even mean? Okay.
We're gonna sit in silence till you explain yourself.
Do you know what she meant? I really don't.
No.
All right.
Michelle, are you still here?
Yeah, I just muted my mic. I just wanted to cause confusion. I got really upset about that maybe someday nonsense.
I didn't even say it, and you attacked me.
/ my people nonsense.
All right. Well, what else am I supposed to say? I feel like my people isn't. All right. Yeah, that's fair.
Also, she started it, so what's up with that?
She's just
So finicky, that one.
something.
No, keep going, keep going, keep going.
I would like to say, too, that Michelle talked about, locating humans that are yours.
I approve of that. I approve.
That took a lot of thinking. I've had a really long week, so my brain is not 100%. Keep in mind, too, that those people could change, even day to day, or like panel to panel, or like activity to activity, or definitely, I hung out with this person at this con, but like I'm not hanging out with them at that con, and that's okay. That's normal. Sometimes you get to know people better and realize, just like when you get to know people, like when the three of us got to know each other better, we realized that we really got along and we're friends. Sometimes the opposite happens, and that's also all right. That's normal, and you don't have to feel bad about it.
Start naming names.
I almost did, but I was afraid you wouldn't edit it out. No,
I would not.
I think the biggest takeaway is like fandom is mostly online. A lot of it's through Twitter, Tumblr, whatever social media platform you use. People are different online than they are in person. So don't have an expectation if you get really like along with someone great online that in person you're going to mesh, because it might not happen.
That's very true.
Because the internet is this awesome place where you don't have to have a filter because you're anonymous, quote unquote. So like internet trolls, if you met a bunch of asshole internet trolls online, they probably wouldn't be the giant jackasses that they are on the internet, because in person it's a completely different ballgame. So just don't go in with the expectation thinking like, hey, I love this person online, we're going to be best friends in real life, because you may end up really not liking each other, or you could end up best friends.
And it's different too. Like even if you talk to someone, I'm much different online than I am in person. Meeting people makes me really nervous. Large groups of people make me really nervous. I think that I have probably met some people, definitely I would guess at Dragon Con, who probably walked away and thought, oh my God, she's such a bitch. But like, I get really anxious, and there are certain people who can kind of ground me and keep me calm, and so I tend to gravitate towards them because they, I'm trying not to completely freak out. I'm not trying to be. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that this also it happens and is okay. And remember that if you have a bad experience, the person isn't necessarily a huge bitch. Maybe they are, but maybe there's something else going on. Like, I'm not great at meeting people in person, and I've talked to so many people in the last year since ClexaCon last year that I'm legitimately nervous about meeting them in person, that there's going to be some expectation. Whereas I'm, like I'm one-on-one or like in a group of people actually physically in the same room with them, I am not as great as I am on the other side of my Twitter account. So keep that in mind. A lot of us, like Michelle said, social media is kind of our main way to communicate. My mother has been in the hospital for a few days. My Aunt Mary was there, and I was charging my phone, and she picked it up, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, look at all these notifications!" And she doesn't know what a notification is. Like, look at the screen. Some other old person thing that she would say. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, those are my friends. Like, that's how we talk to each other. That's how I've gotten through this whole week, is because of them. That's what it is. Anyway. In person is different for many reasons. In some ways, better sometimes, but in some ways not. So keep in mind, especially if you're going through that a lot of other people are as well.
And the thing too is, if you don't get along with someone necessarily in person and you get along with them online, that's not like a dead end to your friendship. Like, maybe your friendship is online, maybe your friendship is in person, maybe you like call each other. It doesn't matter. Like, friendships take all different forms. So don't like judge a situation based off of, or don't judge a relationship based off of discrete situations. Like, it might be very different for everyone. I know I have some people who I'm really good friends with online, but in person we don't get along, and in person we get along, and online we don't get along. It's like a complete spectrum, just like everything else in life.
And like, I've had, kind of fights with friends, like you do, like normal people do at a convention. And that makes it kind of awkward, especially if you're hanging out with the same group of people. So it's important, again, to be honest. And like, that happens, friends fight. It's important to be honest and try and work things out and work through any issues that you have.
How dare you air our dirty laundry?
I'm so sorry, Michelle. It's true. Michelle was very mad at me at ClexaCon last year, like super mad at me. So before the con started, Michelle had, I think, like 490 Twitter followers or something.
Oh, you're not telling this fucking story.
Uh-oh. Still some bad blood here.
So I said to her,
all right, so I'm quitting the podcast right now. It's been fun. It's been real. Bye.
Are you so shocked that we're talking about this? If you had looked at the spreadsheet, you would see that under talking points, hot dog story is on there.
I didn't think it was this one. I thought it was the next one. I wasn't emotionally prepared for this.
I told you to emotionally prepare. It's not my fault that you didn't.
I also don't read all of my messages. Anyway. Hold on. I need to go find my pin. Keep telling your story. All right, I'm back. I found it.
All right. No, I'm leaving.
Oh, excellent. All right. We can continue this podcast without the ridiculous story.
Dude, you sound legitimately panicked. Do you know that?
I mean, it's not that I'm like not panicked.
You know I tell a good story. Why are you stressed out?
Because I have a visceral reaction to the situation. Ketchup does not belong on hot dogs.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Now you've ruined the punchline.
I know, don't tell the story. In case anyone missed me shouting on Twitter with various people, ketchup does not belong on a hot dog. Fight me.
Oh, I'd be happy to.
Okay, can I punch you in the face? Sorry, I'm at my mother's house and looking for a place to plug in my laptop. So anyway, Michelle had about 490 Twitter followers. And I told her, I think before the con, that she would hit 500 by the weekend, by the time the con was over. And she was like, no, I won't. You're full of shit. Typical Michelle reaction to anything I say.
Monica's usually full of shit.
So I decided to make it interesting. I knew how she felt. I knew how she felt about ketchup on hot dogs. And I said, okay, if you hit 500 Twitter followers this weekend, you have to eat a hot dog with ketchup. And she was like, okay, I'll take that bet because it won't happen.
I'm also a moron because I didn't realize that Monica would cheat. It was naive. I was young then. I didn't know better.
Oh my God.
I have a lot of responses to this. Okay. First of all, can't wait to hear those. First of all, I didn't cheat. Michelle is referring to my wife contacting her cousin and being like, hey, can you follow this person on Twitter? And Amber was like, okay. And that's how she got one of her followers. But she was up to like 504 or 505 by the time the weekend was over. So it wouldn't have mattered. Your 500th follower was Jenrific, I think.
Yeah, it was Heather's sister.
Yeah. So that had nothing to do with me. I did not cheat.
I mean, it did have a bit to do with you.
Here's why Michelle lost this bet. It's not because she's stupid. It's because she's very short-sighted when it comes to people liking her or thinking she's funny or finding her interesting or following her on Twitter. I knew that they would, but she just doesn't see that. So I preyed on that.
I feel like this is turning into some sort of therapy session.
It's not. I'm just saying. Anyway, so she lost the bet, and she's been putting off the payoff of the bet for over a year now.
Whoa. I have not put that off. You all have kept pushing it back because you all wanted to be there for it. Unfortunately, ClexaCon 2018 appears to be the time when everybody's going to be there. And by everybody, I mean our Fan Expo group, which consists of Monica, Chris, Heidi, Angie, Belinda, and my poor self.
Podcast friend Heidi, Angie, who doesn't listen to our podcast. You know, all the important people that you all know about. I think we should create an event for it, and like I'm gonna live tweet it. I might Periscope it. It's gonna be amazing.
I will end you.
You won't. Tell them about the pin I got you.
It's an amazing pin, and it's a hot dog, and it has mustard on it because that's the only thing that belongs on a hot dog. Nothing related to ketchup. And I don't remember specifically what it says because I actually dropped it. You guys, I'm really great at life. But it basically just says that like ketchup doesn't belong on a hot dog in Chicago because that's how Chicago rolls.
Man, I bet you would fight me hardcore for what I put on my hot dogs.
What do you put on your hot dogs?
Mustard, ketchup, and mayonnaise.
Oh no! What's wrong with you?
No!
Wow. Talk about visceral. That was intense.
That's like camping. That's disgusting. I hate mayonnaise.
God, ketchup on a hot dog? Why? Why would
Shut
you
your
ruin
whore
a
mouth.
hot dog?
Ketchup is delicious on a hot dog. Mayonnaise?
No, ketchup belongs in everything. But so I told my mom about because
I'm sorry. Hold on. I would like to draw attention in case it was missed that Monica was very clearly said, "Shut your whore mouth."
that does require highlighting.
Exactly.
It was overshadowed by all the screaming. I don't remember how it came up in conversation, but I was like really upset about Vegas, and my mom was asking me why, and I'm like, because I have to eat a hot dog with ketchup on it. And she looked at me like I was a fucking monster. I was like, why? And I was like, well, because, and I explained the whole bet thing and how I lost. And she just looked at me and was like, why would you make such a stupid bet? And I was like, well, I didn't think it was going to happen. She's like, but ketchup on a hot dog?
Oh my God.
The stakes were too high.
Because if you're from Chicago, ketchup does not belong on a fucking hot dog. It doesn't belong there. It doesn't fit. Like onions or weirdly colored relish, mustard, sport peppers, tomatoes, literally everything else belongs on there, but not ketchup.
So I'm curious if there's a trade in here anywhere, because what would you be willing to do to not eat a hot dog with ketchup on it?
I've offered a couple things and she's told me no.
It's like a barter system. I'm very curious.
I mean, what are the options?
No. You have to come up with it on your own.
I would fling myself into the sun.
Okay, but like reasonable options.
When did flinging yourself into the sun not become reasonable?
Forever?
Well, that's news to me. Shit. Yeah, I'm gonna need some time to think about that because mostly I've just been disgusted at the idea of ketchup on a hot dog, and Yeah.
Also, I'm a giant softie, and I have said several times that if she doesn't really want to do it, I won't make her.
I know, but I feel like there's been enough noise on the internet and now this fucking podcast.
You're welcome.
Fuck you.
Should have read the notes.
She can't eat the hot dog if she shuts her whore mouth.
No, you shut your whore mouth around the hot dog. That's how it works.
Oh my god!
Ah!
I'm sorry. I'm officially leaving this podcast. It's been fun. That was
Yeah.
Oh god.
Please move on.
New topic. Oh, I'm emotionally.
Does someone want to read the next email? Michelle's just going to sit there with her microphone muted. Wait, she's here. I can tell because I started echoing again.
And she's like drumming on the microphone.
I think she's plotting my death.
Those are war drums.
Shit, I'm fucked. Fun fact, so I'll get worried and won't be able to sleep tonight that Michelle is actually angry at me about this.
Oh.
Oh my god, I'm not actually mad at you. Please stop. I was just doing some like Hundy war drums.
Yeah, I totally recognized that. Said not me.
I mean, it wasn't really meant for you.
Fuck you, man.
Okay, so our next email is from Katie Cleek, who is at Cleekers on Twitter. And she says, cons and anxiety. I don't consider myself an anxious person. In fact, I would describe myself as the calm and easygoing one in the group. Typically, it takes a lot to frazzle me. Enter my first con experience, Dragon Con 17. Oh, girl, preach. Saturday edition. Oh, that was the day. Oh, okay. It's going to be very hard to see what are her comments and what are mine when you're listening. I only attended one day, but that one day is an experience I will never forget. 1, I didn't allow enough time for traffic and parking stress. Combine that with having to find the badge pickup. Oh my gosh, that was a whole ordeal in itself. My nerves were already shot and I haven't even seen any of the Wynonna Earp cast yet. My saving grace, I befriended a just as confused couple. We made the trek across downtown Atlanta together. I never even caught their names. 2, walking into the Walk of Fame for the first time. Overwhelming is putting it mildly. The huge amounts of people, lines, and more lines had me a bundle of nerves before I even reached the Wynonna Earp cast. Oh my god, that guy that was yelling, that was so intense. Autographs were in full swing by the time I arrived. I miraculously found my 2 friends almost immediately while they were waiting in line for Dom. I had already planned on meeting up with them. 3, standing in line, waiting to meet Dom and Kat. I can't recall another time in my life where I've been more nervous. As soon as I saw Kat with my own eyes, my brain decided to stop working. My friends watched my face go down from excitement to panic to complete meltdown. My version of meltdown, inability to form complete coherent sentences.
Oh girl, I feel that.
So it's like Michelle all the time.
I'm sitting here like, yes, this is me. I understand you. She sends me POI gifts all the time. We're clearly similar people.
The waiting in line was agonizing. I am certain my anxiety level increased with each passing minute. My stomach was in knots. My hands were shaking. I couldn't talk. What became our catchphrase of Dragon Con when I asked my friend how I was doing, the answer was, yep. That's all I could say. If it's possible for one's brain to short circuit, I'm certain that's what I experienced while waiting in line for Kat. 4, I'm next. It's my turn. The moment was here. Kat was right in front of me, and I somehow managed to say my name. What followed were the most embarrassing, excruciatingly awkward 60 seconds of my life. I shuddered, stuttered. Yep, there it was perfect. And I stuttered over that word. I stuttered and tried to speak to her, and nothing happened. My thoughts disappeared. I don't even want to think about how I looked standing in front of Kat. She was so patient and understanding. All I could think to myself as I stood in front of her awkwardly was, Katie, say something. You're blowing your one chance to talk to Kat. Somehow, deep down inside, I found my voice again and took a breath. I knelt down so I was eye level with her and not standing above her. I apologized for being so nervous and then poured my heart out to her. I actually had an awesome conversation with Kat after my initial freakout. All this to say, my friends helped me make it through that day. If not for them, I don't know how else I would have combated the enormous crowds or found my way from one hotel to another. Oh, true. The trio of us all had our fangirl moments that day, although I'm fairly certain my level of no chill has them beat. I would not dream of doing a con on my own. Just knowing I had friends waiting for me somewhere in the insanely huge crowd was the courage I needed to go. My only advice to anyone who has never attended a con buddy is a must have. Whether that's an ERPer you're meeting for the first time after talking online for months or local friends, I would like to think I could have managed my first con on my own. What? Whatever. I would like to think I could have managed my first con on my own, but let's be honest, I could barely remember my name. Sorry, this is so incredibly long. Band.
So I relate to Katie a lot on the whole not being able to speak thing. I resent Katie's entire existence for somehow finding a way to talk to Kat because as Heidi knows, because she was there to witness it live in person and save me, when I met Natasha Negavanlis for the first time, the first and only...
I wasn't even there, and it's so funny.
It was at Fan Expo, because I went there for Carmilla and Wynonna Earp. Those are the 2 days I bought. Waited in line for an obscene amount of time for both. Watched the Carmilla fan panel. It was amazing. Finally got to the front of the line. Talked to Elise. It was great. Went in front of Natasha, and I couldn't say a single fucking word. And she didn't say a single fucking word. We just stared at each other for so long. And then Heidi jumped in and was like, hey, she's a really big fan. She drove here all the way from Iowa. And then she made stilted conversation. I had one-word responses. She signed my shit and we moved on. So, Katie, way to go on actually saying words to your brain space out person. Teach me your skills.
At Fan Expo, right before Fan Expo, they came out with the Fandress shirt, and I, just like a lot of other people who were going to that con, bought one. So mine came in time, and I took it with me. And Emily very vocally hated it. She was, how Fandress isn't a thing. Save your worship for the pretty people. Blah blah blah. She was grumpy about it, right? So I was like, fine, I'll wear it. Because I'd be one of 20, right, in this room wearing this Fandress shirt. Something you'd like to share with the class, Michelle?
No, by all means, continue.
So I show up. It was cool. So I walked in the room, and Sally from Fangirl Shirts, I hear someone screaming at the top of their lungs, Fandress. So then I was able to find the rest of the Wynonna Earp people. So I wasn't lucky enough to win on the lottery, so I didn't get to go in, for the autographs. We listened to the panel, and I was waiting in the hallway, and they had to have the cast and everybody switch rooms. And so Emily's walking down the hall. She sees me, she stops, and she comes over and talks to me, and was so just so nice about it. But so I was like, oh, can I take a selfie of us? And she said yes. And my hand was shaking so much that it was blurry. I took 3 and they were blurry.
I feel like you should post that picture online because it's excellent.
She ended up coming over to the meetup, and Chris took pictures of us together. So those turned out a lot better. But anyway, all of that to say, you're probably going to be nervous. I was so nervous to meet any of them. I wouldn't go up to anybody. I had a really hard time at the meetup. I finally did. I went up and I asked Emily for a picture, and I met Shamir and Tim. I never made it to Melanie, and I was too nervous to approach Dom. Chris did, actually, for me. Anyway, so it's very normal to be super nervous, but I think the really great thing about meeting the Wynonna Earp people is that they are excited to meet you as you are to meet them. They just love the fans and are so excited to be making this cool thing that is connected with so many of us. And they are just all so nice and wonderful and gracious. And I'm so grateful for all of the people I have gotten to meet. And they've all just been so kind, no matter how nervous and stuttery I was. That being said, there is someone coming to Klexicon that every time I think about like getting an autograph, I get like super. There it is. I get super nauseous and I have trouble breathing.
You drop your Lara bar and run away. Yeah, I witnessed it.
That's what happened. Yeah, when they announced her at Dragon, like we were at Dragon Con and they announced her for Klexicon, and I was like, I need a minute, and I jumped up and threw my food on the ground and walked away.
I really related to you in that moment because that was the exact thing that happened when they announced that Amy Acker was going to last year's Klexicon. I left my work and sat in my car and freaked out for 20 minutes and then came back.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it.
You can.
I really don't. I don't think that I can.
You can.
But that's another discussion for another time. And by another discussion for another time, I mean something that we will ignore and not talk about ever again.
So everybody should encourage Monica at Klexicon to go and talk to said person. Because last year, her and Heidi and our friends went and made sure that I had a picture with Natasha because I really needed to get over my fear of being in her presence. So let's do that again. Monica wants to kill me.
Whoa.
So our next email is from Megan, and Michelle's going to read that one.
Wait, hold on. Fuck. Shit. Where? Wait, I found it. Okay. Sorry.
So this is Megan Stitch. This is at Nutmeg on Twitter. Perhaps you've heard of her.
So Megan says, I went to Dragon Con alone, not knowing a single person. This is not something I had ever done before, but by observing online, I felt that Erpers would be kind enough and maybe I'd end up making a friend or two. Walking into the meetup, I recognized a few people from Twitter, but I was still pretty nervous. As soon as I walked in, the first thing I said was, "Hey, I don't know anybody." And was literally welcomed with open arms by literally everybody. Rephrasing. Hugs everywhere. This fandom is really accepting, and we do our absolute best to make sure you know that you're safe with us. I mean, the craziest thing for me during that trip was I didn't even know the person I was staying in a room with. We chatted for weeks before the con, so it was fine. I am alive and writing this after all, or am I? My best advice might sound simple, but just include yourself. It can be scary, but this is the easiest group of people you could ever put yourself out there with. Talk to people. If you're comfortable enough to do that, wow. I can't read. I'm so sorry, Megan. And you'll end up making some pretty special friendships. Obviously, I should have formatted this before I read it.
I agree with all of that.
I agree too.
I don't even remember Megan coming to that meetup. I did not meet Megan at Dragon Con. You met her at New York Comic Con, right, Michelle?
Yes, we were sitting in line for the Shannara panel, and I was listening to our Dragon Con episode of this podcast and trying to like take notes on it. And I was like, everyone was looking at me like I was crazy because I had my headphones on in line at a convention trying to work. But she's the one that took those pictures that I sent to you guys of me trying to work. She judged me so hard.
That seems right.
It's pretty much what happens whenever but so this has been part 1 of our 2-ish part series on conventions and how to survive them. Kind of. I'm not good at outros, you guys. All right, so this was part 1 of our 2-part series on conventions. Look forward to part 2 in the next week or so. If you want to get a hold of us, Monica will tell you where to do that.
You can find us on Twitter at ErpsPlayingPod. You can email us at somethinginair@gmail.com. You can leave us a voicemail at
678-871-0098.
You can find me on Twitter at Lesbianzer.
BP at go.
Oh, bother.
Just say, oh, bother. It's like some Winnie the Pooh shit going on in here.
I forgot that we're podcasting with Winnie the fucking Pooh.
Is it? I was watching Winnie the Pooh random shit earlier. Wow. Don't judge me. All right. Continue. Somebody sent me a fucking video.
You can find Michelle at McNick1291 on Twitter, BP at Beep33TV, or Erp Your Fandom for Winona Earp specific related content.
If you want to literally get any of the information we just said, you can go to our website at erpslayingpod.com. where you can send us messages. You can see all of our episodes, minisodes, all of Monica's ERP reviews, and you can hit on shop where you can buy all of our awesome merch.
And there will be new merch soon, if not maybe already by the time this podcast has come out.
You're probably going to want to check out what the new merch is.
Yes, you are.
It's definitely worth your time.
And hopefully I will have pins of that new merch at ClexaCon as well. That is the goal.
Shh, 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 shh.
What? Why are you shushing me?
Don't.
Oh, for fuck's sake, in this podcast.
So this episode is done now. Look forward to our next one. All right, cut.
And just remember, everyone, stay sexy and eat all the hot dogs.